Hello, I am Dr. Kidd, and this is our EDU 386 course set up for our extension group there in Browning. And so I'm just doing a quick introduction. You'll actually get to see me and meet me. I'll be coming to see you in a couple of weeks. And so we've got a couple of things going on in the course that I wanted to just kind of let you know about. Okay, so this week, just thinking about what's going on, just an introduction to the standards and specifically the standards for this course, because we have to make sure that you're ready to teach all K through 8 standards, and that's done through the praxis. Okay, so one of our big goals is making sure you're ready for passing the praxis. Okay, so as such, the course is laid out with content being a big piece. Now, a lot of this content, though, is stuff that you're fairly familiar with and you have some knowledge on. Okay, what you may not be fully familiar with are some of the inside details. And so, like, I provide a lot of videos. I'll be there to answer questions. Email me, okay? Don't think that all this has to be done tomorrow. We've got all summer to get this done. We've got essentially 10 weeks and 2 weeks that I'll come up and be there with you guys to help make you successful, to help you in the learning of all this content, okay? So this first week is just kind of covering and saying, whoa, there's all the stuff that we need to start covering and that we're gonna have to start using, okay? So that is our standards assignment, okay? And so there's a standards document that I gave you because I went through all the K through 8 standards and separated out all the ones for this class. Then there's, we also have 385. That one focuses on numbers, operations, and algebra aspects, okay? That's a lot of where our more typical math is happening, okay? Here in 386, we're covering geometry, we're covering measurement, statistics, and probability, okay? And some of those things are really just not number heavy, especially geometry is not at all numbers heavy. And then statistics, probability is starting to use numbers in a different way. And so it's set up to kind of help you see where we're going for this. Okay. Then we have the standards assignment for this week. And this is where we got to start to figure out what the crap those standards say because it's not clear. So take it, one, you're going to pick a standard. Then you're going to essentially just write a quick summary of it as you would talk about it with other teachers, okay? Then we need to make like some student objectives out of it. What would you actually put up on your board and say, today we're learning blah from this standard, okay? Then the fourth part of that is when we're talking to parents. A lot of times parents are like, why are you teaching this? And I always just kind of think I'm on the defensive. I've had a lot of parents, especially as Common Core rolled out. I was teaching when that happened, and we rolled it out in high school. Then I went to a middle school, and that's where they rolled it out. So I've had to kind of defend some of these standards. And a lot of times we just have very inquisitive parents, and not necessarily defensive, but they want to know, why are we teaching these things? Okay, so that's one of the next things. And then kind of a checklist. So what are the skills that my students have to have in order to say that they have accomplished this standard? And you're going to do this with 5 different standards and just kind of spread that out over different grades, or if you want to focus in on your one grade. But I liked when we spread out across grades because thinking about what are they supposed to know before they get to me? So if I'm teaching 2nd grade, I'll look at 1st grade kindergarten and focus in on a topic that I see what skills they're supposed to come to me with. And then I look at me and I look forward and say, what else do they still need to know after they leave me? What is the next step for what I'm teaching? And this kind of bigger map is a big thing to understand. Now we focus in on right where we are, and then sometimes that's a disservice to students. So this first assignment is to try and spread our view of what students are learning and why we're teaching some of the things that we're teaching. Okay, so then just an interesting reading for you and a syllabus quiz. Make sure that you read the syllabus. It's all there. And you can take this a few times if you need to. Okay, just kind of making sure that all the important details of the syllabus got communicated clearly. Then there's a reading on this first week. It's listed as day 1, but about kind of comparing how geometry has been taught in the past and how it's been taught. This reading comes in 2015, and so just interesting to kind of see how things have changed, or maybe they haven't changed that much, as well as I'd like to just get your feedback. So do a little video reflection, upload it to YouTube, share that YouTube link with me. Putting it as unlisted is the best way to go. I have no fear of anybody seeing any of my stuff, so it's all public. But if you're nervous about that, just put it as unlisted, because this is a time when you get to communicate directly with me and say, hey, this is where I'm at. So I give you a prompt, but it's also an introduction thing for you and where you're at. Okay. So that's kind of part 2 for this first week. And the last thing is a logic puzzle. Okay. And so this logic puzzle is kind of a big thing. And I have another little video there kind of introducing it. So you print it off and you do your very best with it. And you can work with other people to work with them, as well as to compare, and then you turn in the final result into Moodle. Okay, and this is just kind of like that participation grade for this week. Okay, now the rest of our course is still kind of being tweaked and developed to make sure that we aren't overloading you guys, as well as I've got a lot of stuff for when I come and visit that we're going to have 3 days of kind of more intense. It'll be 9 to 12 in the morning, 3 hours worth. And so we're going to get a lot of stuff done then, and I want to try and get as many things kind of checked off and laid out as much as possible. So just kind of be watching each week as it rolls out. If you see topics and content, it's all there and available to you, so you can start looking at it. Okay, and so next week we'll shift into the actual content more, and then talk about more about the how to teach. Okay. Now, the other thing I do want to mention is just as you look at that syllabus and how much everything is worth. So there's not a lot of parts to the class. There is content quizzes, which is making sure that you have all the necessary content knowledge. Feel free to ask questions, work together, understand what you need to from these content quizzes. I will tell you, Google is not going to be your best friend here. Okay? I work to ask a lot of questions that I've seen Google answer incorrectly and is causing misconceptions. So make sure that you're really thinking about it, going to the resources, because there's a lot of videos where I'm working to explain specific things to help you and your students out. Okay? But yeah, that's the first kind of big chunk, and that's the underlying foundation for all of this. We want to make sure that you have all the necessary content knowledge to go out and be successful in taking the praxis and in teaching. Okay. The next part is your pedagogy assignments, and you get one of these roughly each week. I think I've got 2 on the weeks that I'm coming to visit, just so that way, because we're covering a little bit more. And it's thinking about how you're teaching. There's some more explanation in these specifics when you get to them. Okay, so I'm going to have you try one of those out next week, but don't worry about it this week. But those are 15% of your grade. Okay, then I have a bigger kind of overarching project. So we have different content every single week that we're covering. Then the overarching ideas is dealing with students' misconceptions. So you're going to focus in on one misconception, something that you've seen, something that has held back your students or held you back, especially is good, and you're writing a research paper on it, okay? And there's details about that later on. Then you're going to have a lesson plan and just kind of all the details for writing a sub-ready lesson plan. and pay close attention to the rubric for that lesson plan, because I asked for a few things that may be a little different. Okay, sometimes it's stuff that's specific to mathematics, some of it's just general lesson planning. Questions is a section that's really important to me that a lot of people don't think about. Cross-curricular connection is something really important for mathematics. Why do I have to use this? Why do I have to learn this? When will I use this? That's one of the big questions that I think you should have just a little caveat in your lesson to help teach that. Okay? And so pay attention to that rubric. Again, we'll talk about that more as that comes. But think about that and always have it in your mind this week and next week as you're looking at the standards. Ooh, that's the one that I should talk more about that we have the misconception on. Ooh, that's the one I should teach a lesson on. Then the third part of this overarching project, or whatever we want to call it, is called the lesson narrative. And you're just going to sit down, tell me the story, type it all out from your perspective of teaching the lesson. Okay? Now, if you're smart, your misconception research paper is what your lesson plan is all about and is what your lesson narrative is all about. That way it's all on the same topic and you aren't having to do a whole bunch of new information. If you want to make your life hard, feel free and do it on 3 completely separate things and torture yourself. I will read it and grade it independently, okay? But I love to see when you're getting deeper and deeper into one piece of content and misconceptions all around it, okay? So feel free to use that. So we have those weekly things, we have the overarching things. Then of course there's participation and attendance, okay? So that you're actually there in class and keeping up with everything. So I understand it's summer, life's happening, things are going on all around, but make sure that you're keeping up with this class each week, you know. And if you're going to be gone for more than a week, 1, you better have a good reason, okay? And 2, make sure that you've communicated with me, okay? And with Edith as well. So that way we know if you're not going to be there for some reason, and I can work around some of those things. Other times it's you just got to work ahead, because all of it's pretty available to you. So you can look at it and make sure that you and your success in this class is not going to be affected by whether you're there in class or online at a specific time, okay? So it's pretty flexible, pretty usable, and if not, please let me know, talk to Edith about it, because it's working, you know, we're kind of working this together, because I've taught this class many times, and we've got a really good success rate for our students in math confidence, and passing the praxis and those kinds of things. And so as much as we can, I want to help pass that on, but please be open to accepting some of that, as well as being willing to do the work to help be successful with it too. Thanks.